Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday night live stream. It's Robert Phoenix, and of course, we do not have any live video, which I apologize for, but you'll get plenty of visuals and plenty of charts tonight as we get into some astrology, chart interpretation. And tonight is oh, hold on a second here. Let me do this. Oh, you know what? I'm missing my mic input, so we're just going to have to go through the computer tonight, which I apologize for because my mic situation has been great lately, and now it's not so great, at least tonight. So we'll just get through this. Let me clear my throat. So what's happening out there? What's going on? We are 24 hours away from the new moon, the Aries new moon, and it is a pretty auspicious time to start projects and to get into something new. That's right. So if you wanted to catalyze something, if you wanted to start something, if you wanted to begin something, the next 24 hours, starting tomorrow, is your time. So let's say you wanted to write a book. Let's say you wanted to paint a picture. Let's say you wanted to make a video. Let's say you wanted to make a career change. Now is the time to do it. Now, some of you may know this. I teach a webinar once a month. People that buy my astrology course get to plug in and listen to it, be a part of it. And yesterday I actually covered this season of Aries pretty thoroughly. And in fact, you can read or actually listen to what I talked about yesterday on the website. Now, I don't always do that. I don't always throw out, what we talk about on the webinar. But I felt like, hey, it's springtime. It's good information. Avail yourself of it. So I'll talk about it a little bit here. But if you want to hear about it in more detail, you can just go to my my website. I've got a new post up, and it has to do with the chart of David Rockefeller, and you can kind of see the dark imagery of the new age, of the Aquarian age inside of his chart. It's there. He had Uranus in Aquarius, true node in Aquarius. That was his life mission. And it's funny, I talked about this when I was with Regina the last time I was out at Gaia, in which that show is up, by the way, with me and Regina. And I was talking about how the new age is dead. It is dead. And I got an email from a publisher who has a magazine called New Dawn in Australia. And he's just published a piece on there. And it's not his piece. I forget the writer's name. But it's the dark side of the Aquarian age, which I talked about years ago on Gaia. Not to say that I was kind of ahead of the curve on it, but I pretty much was. Because I could see where things were going. I could see where there was a level of really wholesale and broad social manipulation. And the Aquarian ideals that we were being inculcated around, and by the way, I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're bad ideals. Let's be clear about it. I think they're actually some pretty good ideals. Who wouldn't want to live in a world that's peaceful? Who wouldn't want to live in a world where people have more of a sense of community at a global level? I don't have a problem with that. Here's my thinking around all of it. I think if they left people alone, I think if people weren't poked and prodded and pricked like lab rats all the damn time, I think we'd figure it out. I really do. but because the managers of this planet, the custodians of this planet, the dark custodians of this planet, because they want to run it, what they have to do is they have to create disorder. They have to create division. They have to create duality. This is why double numbers are really important. It's a duality. It's a duality of magic with an M and an A and a G and an I and a C and a K. 9/11 was a magical ritual. I've talked about it. We've gotten into it. David Rockefeller died on what? He died on the 29th degree of Pisces. 2 plus 9 is 11. He lived to be 101 years old. 11 and 11, 22. We got the Master Builder. We have the Codex. But if we were left alone and could kind of figure this thing out, if we weren't sprayed like bugs, if we weren't juiced with EMFs and ELFs and Gwen waves, scalar waves, if our cells weren't being cooked, if we didn't have inordinate amounts of aluminum coursing through our system, if we didn't have to deal with these crazy little nanofibers, if we got to eat food that was actually wholesome without any kind of pesticide, genetically modified organisms, you take all of that out of the equation, and guess what would happen to people? People would have a better sense. They would have a better sense of who they are, what they could be, and we just might learn to get along, particularly if we don't have to deal with any number of false flags. It could be the Islamic false flag. It could be the, shoot 'em up cop false flag, whatever. But those false flags, we just saw another one, 322 in London, Westminster, total false flag. Total. And I talked about it on Friday, the hijacking of the emotions. Take all that out of the equation. Take all of it off the table, and guess what? We have a shot. We have a shot at actually maybe having this Aquarian existence. But it is not going to work, excuse me, if it's sculpted and premeditated. It's just not going to work. I mean, it might work for a while, especially if people can be turned into transhumanist biobots. It might actually work because then we're losing touch with our humanity. But the only way it works, the only way the Aquarian age works, and I've been saying this for years, is if we start off as a unique part of the hologram. And then everybody adds their unique part of the hologram. And it starts from the inside out, the bottom up. It starts in a kind of a multi-dimensional, omnidirectional phase in motion. It doesn't start from the top down, the outside in. And if we are socially engineered to be a part of that kind of society, I think we're screwed. I think we're totally screwed. So tonight we're going to look at some charts and get into them and get into this new moon energy. Before I do that, there was one thing I wanted to bring up about this whole Aquarian thing. I've been watching a lot of Andrew Breitbart videos lately. And Andrew Breitbart was an Aquarian. He was an Aquarian. When he was alive, and I think Breitbart was really hitting his stride around 2010, 2011, and I think he died, what, in 2013, is that right? 2020. So he was really hitting his stride around 2010, 2011, 2012. He was, and I was not that into him at that point in time because I didn't watch Fox News, and Breitbart was on Fox News a lot. And he had come out of this liberal existence, this liberal education. He got an American Studies degree at Tulane, so the story goes. He apparently was the son of a folk singer. I'm interested in that part of the story because I think his parents know who his father was. I think they know who his father. He was the son of a folk singer. Why do I think his father was David Crosby? Would David Crosby qualify as a folk singer? I mean, wasn't David Crosby kind of this sperm donor? He kind of looks a little like David Crosby in some ways, a little bit. Anyway, he was adopted, and I talked about this before, and he grew up near UCLA Westwood, and he grew up in a very privileged environment. Very privileged. And he was basically inculcated into kind of liberal ideas. He got a degree from Tulane in American Studies, and he talks about how watching Clarence Thomas get bullied by Ted Kennedy and Joe Biden during the confirmation hearings, that changed his life. Because they were talking about a porno film and that Clarence Thomas had once watched, and there was Anita Hill, and they did everything in their power to discredit Clarence Thomas. And he made a great point. He talked about how here's Ted Kennedy with Mary Jo Kopechne in his history. And I know a lot about Ted Kennedy. I know things that Ted Kennedy did that are generally not talked about. But I can give you one example because it's on the public record. Some of you know who George Green is. I've had him on my show before, a long time ago. Interesting guy, and connected to the halls of power at one point in time in the 70s. He tells this story. He's told it before, so I'm not going to get any trouble by retelling the story. But George Green talks about how when he was in Denver, he was approached basically to come over to their side, and it was in a hotel room in Denver, and his daughter was there with him, and Ted Kennedy was high out of his mind on cocaine, wanting to have sex with his daughter. And I'm not making this up. I'm just telling you what George Green has shared, and he shared it in more than one place. So here's a very dark side to Ted Kennedy. And we all know about Joe Biden. I mean, just look at those YouTube videos where Biden is around these kids, these girls, and I mean, it is flat out creepy. Stroking their hair and rubbing their shoulders. Oh my God. And yet they had the temerity to question Clarence Thomas. And, you know, look, we know a lot more now than we did then. Well, I think we knew a fair amount about Ted Kennedy. We knew a lot. I mean, he had Chappaquiddick. You know, and that's it. That's all you need to know. One word, Chappaquiddick. Mary Jo Kopechne, dead. Done. So Clarence Thomas And the hearings turned Andrew Breitbart around. And he became very kind of obsessed with the truth. And he began to look at what the left was doing, controlling the narrative, controlling the news, controlling politically correct thought, taking over the universities, cramming cultural Marxism down students' throats year after year after year, and basically creating what we have now. And Breitbart was all over it. Now, I don't agree with everything Breitbart talked about, don't agree with all of his methodologies, but he was clearly somebody who did not back down from a fight. He was a punk rocker in a lot of ways, Sun in Aquarius. And he was more Aquarian than the left was at that point in time. He was more punk rock than they were. And to me, and I was not, again, I wasn't in the Breitbart universe at all until later, but I was picking up on that. And I think it was in 2012 or 2013, I wrote a blog post on the site that talks about sort of this other side, this new emergent Aquarian side, which has very little to do with kind of the old version. It has everything to do with truth, has everything to do with people being empowered, people being sort of their own cellular representation, but not in a way where we're all given medals. I mean, that is kind of the dark side again of the Aquarian age, and there's a lot of darkness in that version of the Aquarian age. We have a shot, and we don't have a lot of time, to be honest with you, and we might have to go through some fairly significant chaos, but we have a shot at some point to be able to create the type of world that I'm talking about. And it's not top down. It's not top down, and it's not a false bottom up. That's the other piece. But Breitbart was truly being an Aquarian. He was truly living his sign during that time. I think that's the only planet he had in Aquarius, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we're going to get into where we are right now astrologically, the chart of the moment. I'm going to do that. Put this up here. Give me a second. And I apologize for I don't have the sonorous audio that I normally have. We're going to try to remedy that by tomorrow morning. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's get into the planets. We've got Sun 6 degrees Aries. We are now 6 degrees into the astrological new year. Still first decan. Still a great time to put something into motion. There's energy out there. We've got Moon 22 Pisces. So this is a balsamic moon. I actually like this phase of the moon right now. It is a quiet phase. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to let go of something, tonight's the night. Tonight and early tomorrow, if you want to let go of something, let it go. Let it go and don't look back. Because when we get into that new moon energy in Aries, boy, this is a special time. It's special energy. It comes around once a year. What do you want to put in motion? What is your intention? Well, it starts by what you want to let go of. What you need to surrender and say au revoir. The moon is in third decan, so that puts it into the Scorpio phase, right? Should be an interesting night of dreaming with the balsamic moon in Scorpio. So if we can take this a little bit further, let's kind of unwind this. If we look at the third decan Piscean moon, and we get into these keywords around Scorpio: obsession, possession, things that clutch at us and grab our souls and take us into the dark night. This could be a night where you can shed some of that. You can let some of that go. You can do it consciously, right? I surrender. I surrender. I affirm and decree, and I surrender gracefully into the heart and mind of God. Fill in the blank. And through the grace and love of God, I embrace the all of the I am, the all of the all that is, the all of the Almighty, the all of the Logos, the all of the Lord and Savior. I mean, if you want to go in that direction, it's there. That energy's there. Tonight's the night to let it go. Tomorrow morning, let it go. If you have bad dreams, let them go. Don't be afraid to go to sleep. I know it's hard sometimes. People are being kept up at night with the ELFs and the EMFs and the ringing in the ears and all the other crap that goes along with it. Look, this is not an easy time to be a human. I mean, let's get that right up front. We're under assault daily. Daily. You know what I'm talking about? Chemtrails, electromagnetic smog, you name it. You name it. What about our interactions with others? Sometimes those can be incredibly challenging. I mean, I believe that we're shedding, surrendering, letting go, having to move through things, having to face ourselves. Stakes are high. They're very high. And we live in a really chaotic, and it's going to get more chaotic environment. Just trust me on this. We cannot live from the old emotional precepts. That's what I've been talking about since the eclipse. And I talked about that on Regina's show. So we're going to have to do something new here, right? We have to do something new. Live new, think new, feel new. And how do you go about doing that? Well, we have to probe and pioneer and push new ways. If you're quiet and shy and timid, do something different. Break out of your shell. Make a connection. Talk to people. Break that fifth wall. If you're somebody who's always kind of out there and ostentatious, try to listen a little bit more. Change it up. Look for humor in things. Bring the humor to light. I was watching Dave Chappelle. He's back. Thank God. I love Dave Chappelle. He's a Virgo. Love that guy. He's got a new special on Netflix. And I wasn't feeling that great today. I was going through some stuff. But I tell you, Dave Chappelle put a smile on my face. He has not lost any speed off his fastball. None whatsoever. His humor is so important. It's vitally important. It is going to be the tonic that's going to get us through these times. It is a cliche, but we've got gravity and levity. And levity lessens the gravity. Mercury's at 24 Aries. So by the end of the week, we'll be approaching Mercury in Taurus. We're coming up on Mercury in retrograde, aren't we? So it means Mercury is probably in the shadow. So let's just take a look at that and confirm that before I move on to Venus. It's probably in the shadow. I think Mercury goes retrograde, in May? Let's just check it out. Let's see. So the date for Mercury retrograde, it's in April. April 10th, so we are clearly in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. That is, let's see, let me just make sure again. Yeah. Actually, Mercury goes retrograde. I take that back. on the 30th. Oh boy, how about that, boys and girls? Just make sure one more time. No, I'm sorry, I was reading something else. I was reading Venus retrograde. My bad. So yeah, it goes retrograde at 4 Taurus. So the shadow would have started at 4 Aries, and that was on the 16th. So that was Tuesday before last. So we're in the shadow now, and it's going to kick in on the 10th. It's not that far away. And Venus will also be retrograde at that time. It goes direct on the 15th, on tax day. That's interesting. Of course, Jupiter is retrograde. Saturn goes retrograde on the 6th. There we go. So we're going to have, let's see. Saturn, okay, so on the 10th, we're going to have Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and the outer planets will not be retrograde. That's good. Pluto does go retrograde on the 21st. And then we have Neptune and Uranus do not follow suit for a couple of months. Yeah, Uranus, let's see, Neptune goes retrograde in June. June 16th. And then Uranus goes all the way to 28 degrees. And then it goes retrograde in August. But right now we're talking about Mercury retrograde. It's going to be Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So, money, resources, assets, all those things that we associate and connect with Taurus. The voice. Maybe it's just going to be a really good time to reclaim your voice with Mercury and Taurus. And trust me, there's a lot to talk about. So just mark that off on your date. Put that on your calendar. Mercury retrograde, April 10th, and we are in the shadow now. Now today I tried to get out of my house and it felt like I was just walking through quicksand on my carpet. Venus returns to the sign of Pisces on the 4th at 29 Pisces, and it goes all the way back to 26 Pisces. It goes back to those final degrees. To me, that Venus retrograde in Pisces gives me this sense that we are just not in control. That there are higher forces, higher ideas, higher plans at work as it relates to relationship. And who we're supposed to be connected to and with. This could be a very interesting time if you find yourself in the throes of a relationship dilemma with this Venus retrograde, especially when it gets into Pisces. The best thing to do is to just let go. Let go. And it's hard. It's hard, especially if you are somebody that's got a water sign. All the water signs have a difficult time letting go. And I know Cancer probably is the one that gets the hardest rap. But Scorpio can be equally challenged with letting go, especially Venus in Scorpio. And Pisces can as well, but I think of the three, Pisces has the easiest time in some ways. Because if Pisces has to let go, they'll just get stoned or drunk. And it just gets easier that way. No, I'm just kidding. So let's get back into the planets here. So Venus is retrograde, 3 degrees. It's in that first decan. And does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say decans? It's the signs are broken into 30 degrees, and there's 3 decans per sign, little under 10 degrees per decan. And then you add it up and you get 30, and those 3 decans are a determinant as to how the sign actually is experienced. It's like a filter. So we start with the first 9 and roughly 0.4, was it 0.65 degrees or whatever, in one sign, the sign that it's in, and then we go to the next sign in the same element after that. So first decan Aries, second decan Leo, third decan Sagittarius. If the first decan is in Sagittarius, the second decan is in Aries, the third decan is in Leo. And this is what I talk about when I talk about this is what I'm sharing about the decans. They're really interesting, super interesting. Mars is at 12. Taurus, slowly. Maybe that's why I was plodding through my house today. It's that Mars and Taurus. Man. Couldn't get anything done. But I guess once you get momentum with Mars and Taurus, it's not bad. Because you can, it's like a bull. Once a bull gets moving, look out. It's in that third decan phase. Second decan phase, so it's in the Virgo decan. So Mars wants to be helpful. Wants to find solutions. Look at your budget. Jupiter is in Libra, 19 degrees, also retrograde. I could say a lot about Jupiter retrograde Libra, especially as it relates to the sexes and sex relationships and the portrayal of men and the portrayal of women. I was going to talk about this on my show on Friday, and I touched on it a little bit. And it has to do with this TV show called Shots Fired, which is a very Aries kind of sounding title, isn't it? Because we think of Aries, we think of guns and bullets and violence and police and soldiers and football players and concussions and knives. I mean, that's all very Aries kinds of imagery. First responders, shots fired, Aries. It's opening the season of Aries. These people have their astrological programming down. Good for them. Way to go. So I'm assuming, based on what I've seen of the preview of the show, which is going to be on Fox, is that she's either a lawyer or a cop. She might be I don't know, public, district attorney. I don't know, detective. Sanaa Lathan, very attractive African American woman, serious actress, plays the lead role. I believe it's in a southern town, and the bad guys. Guarantee you they're not African Americans. So just being straight up. Straight up. Her partner is a male. African American male. So you've got these, So we have two kind of role reversals here. Number one, we have the female lead as the hero/heroine, and this has been kind of ongoing. It's been happening for a while. This is like the last few years. It's happening more frequently. And the heroine has a guy who is the wing person. I mean, really, where did we really see this? We saw this in the Hunger Games with Katniss Everdeen. Okay, so we've got that, we've established that, and they happen to be black, African American. So nothing wrong with that, but it's, again, this kind of slightly bit of a reversal, because this would be a show that normally would have been occupied by maybe two white males, maybe a white male and a female. maybe the female and the white male, and the female taking lead. But now it's like come to sort of this whole other kind of demographic. But what I find really interesting, and I've been seeing this more and more. Okay, I am a observer of culture. This is what I do. I spend a lot of time breaking it down. And some of the observations I have might make people feel uncomfortable because I notice things. And I would say probably around 2005, 2006, right around there. I think about 2006. So all pre-Obama. I started to notice that there were commercials where the white guy in commercials has kind of always been portrayed as the doofus. I mean, how many times have we seen those commercials with macaroni? And it's a family, and who's the doofus in the family? It's the dad, right? The kids are smarter, the wife is smarter. And this went on for years. But the dad was there, and he looked like kind of a regular straight dad. But there was this kind of degradation. It was like the orbit. You could see the orbit of the white male beginning to decay at that time. You know, a few yucks, a few ha-ha-has, but he was still there. Now, you fast forward, you get into right around 2003, 2004, began to notice that there were different kinds of commercials. And the first commercial that really grabbed my eye was a phone. I think it was a car commercial or a phone commercial. I can't remember which. Might have been a travel commercial. It was one of those three: car, travel, phone. And there was a Caucasian couple, a white couple, and they were like in some form of chaos. And they were kind of down below on this beach, like maybe they'd rolled down the hill or something. And on top of this bluff overlooking the ocean was this really good-looking African-American couple. And they had their shit together. And I thought to myself, well, this is an interesting commercial. What's going on here? You know, there seems to be a bit of a sea change, and I'm getting a different sense as to kind of where we're headed culturally. I'm like, hey, I got no problem with that. I think it's great. I think it's great that we can have African Americans represented in really like kind of realistic, wholesome, family-oriented, shit-together kinds of ways. Hello, bring it on. It's great. But as you know, my beef is never at the diminution of some other person or some other group in society. I'm just not down with it. I'm not down with it. And I think we all get lifted up together. And I've said that before. That's it. I've said it before. We all get lifted up together. Because in the eyes of the Creator, we are all the same. We're all spirit, right? I mean, yeah, there's differences, and we can peel those differences apart for the next couple of hours. But you get right down to it. We're spiritual beings having an earthly experience. But unfortunately, that gets hijacked and has been for a while. So let's fast forward, because I'm making a point around Jupiter in retrograde. So this trend in commercials has been gaining lots of momentum. And eventually what happened is I saw that the white male was just disappearing. He was just disappearing in commercials. I was like, you know, we're being erased right out of modern culture. And if we were there, we were kind of inept. And so I began to see more and more positive portrayals of black American males. No problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that at all. But I said to myself, at some point, they are going to experience the same kind of orbital decay that the white American male began to experience probably about 15 years ago. And I've been seeing it in commercials. I've been seeing kind of more examples of the doofus husband. But this time the doofus husband has a heck of a lot more melanin. But they're starting to kind of, roll this same code out. And I think this is interesting, because now it's not really a race thing anymore. Now it's kind of a weird male-female thing. And even with this show, Shots Fired, who is kind of on top? It's the woman. And I'm not saying that, again, that's a bad thing. I'm just noticing. And I'm just seeing it across the board. So these rules, the new socially permissible etiquette, is just being transferred from one group to another, which I think is interesting. I don't agree with it, but I think from a cultural perspective, I think it's interesting. But here we have this kind of movement towards, I don't know, it's like, I feel, in some ways I feel sad, because I was watching TNT, like I don't really feel sad. I was watching TNT, and it was a preview for the Samantha Bee show, and she went out on a limb and said, hey, guess what? A woman got her own late night talk show and the world didn't end, or some shit like that. And I'm like, really? I mean, why do we have to like create this, again, kind of a divide and conquer sort of strategy, not just between black and white, but between men and women? And this Jupiter retrograde in Libra, I think if you really want to, it expands upon this, what I would call an imbalance. People say, oh, poor you, we've had it so bad for so many years, poor you, deal with the imbalance. I'm sorry, I got 3 planets in Libra. It's imbalanced. Maybe we'll get back to the balance. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But I can clearly see it. And with Jupiter retrograde in Libra, it is there. It is visible. And I'd like to bring some more balance back into this thing. In fact, let me give you another example. I was watching the new Netflix series, Golden Fist, or Iron Fist. I had Iron Fist 1 as a kid, by the way. The comic of Marvel. And it starts off with this kid, Danny Rand, who comes back to New York City after being stranded in kind of a mythical Shambhala kind of place where he learned crazy martial arts and got the power of the Iron Fist. So here comes Danny. He comes back to New York to reclaim his multi-billion-dollar company because his parents died in the same plane crash he was in. He survived and was raised by, how do you say this? Extra-dimensional monks. Like the gateway to their world opens every 15 years. And he just happened to be there on that day. Woo! He was the chosen one. So he's got mad fighting skills, this Danny kid, but his expression, like he becomes, it's quite funny actually, because he becomes, I hate to use the expression, he becomes like the snowflake CEO. He becomes like an Occupy movement CEO because he's got compassion and empathy. They're about to launch a new drug, and they're going to, make 100% cost on the drug, 100% profit on the drug. And his first day, he just got the company back, and he says, well, why don't we just sell it for cost? Let's just sell it for cost. How can we profit off of other people's misery? It's a very naive, wonderful concept. But this is where his character's at. He is really feminine. Even though he's kind of an ass kicker, especially when he heats up that fist, he gets that energy fist going. Now, on the other hand, he meets this young Asian woman, and they have an interesting relationship. It's not sexual, though, because Danny has taken vows of Chastity. That's right. Because he's a monk. That's what monks do. What does she do? She goes to like an octagon. It's like Fight Club in a cage, and she winds up kicking the ass of all these big guys. So here we have this semi-petite Asian woman who's throttling two men at once. And then you have Danny, who's the mystical martial artist, as the Snowflake Occupy CEO, or controlling member of the board. And that's where it's at, although it feels like it's getting a little more imbalanced, maybe a little bit more. Like I had to stop watching the show because it was so boring. I'll be honest with you. But but this is where things have evolved to. But at least he can fight. I'll give him that much. At least he can fight. At least he can kick some ass. We're on our way. Let's put it that way. I'll view the show as an affirmation. Okay, we got Saturn in Sagittarius, 27 degrees right on the galactic center. It doesn't get more truthful than that, does it? Saturn in Sag, but we're trying to get to it. Who's wiretapping? I'll tell you who's got some challenges with that Saturn in Sagittarius is Alex Jones. He's having to bend over backwards for James Alefantis and the Comet Pizza Gang, the Comet Ping Pong Gang. I don't trust Alex Jones's chart. I don't think he is who he says he is. Some people think he's Bill Hicks. It's possible. From an astrological standpoint, it kind of makes sense because Bill Hicks was a Sagittarius, and we've got Saturn in Sagittarius, so it could be conjuncting or moving around Bill Hicks's planets. Let's look at the chart of Bill Hicks. Let's bring that up. Let me just go Bill Hicks, and I'm going to start loading our visuals here soon. Bill Hicks, astrological chart. Let's see where Saturn would be in this chart. Because Alex Jones is getting his legal ass kicked right now. They're after him in a big way. Yeah, Bill Hicks born 12/16, which puts him in the Sagittarian bucket, 1961. Let's see what we got here. Libra rising. Oh, okay. So we've got Sun at 24, Mercury 24, Mars at 23. So we've got Saturn conjuncting Sun, Mercury, and Mars. That's if Bill Hicks were alive, he'd be dealing with the vice grip, perhaps, of the legal system. Third house, what you talk about. He's got I don't know. I don't think Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. I used to. I don't know. It's hard. Bill Hicks had that Libra ascendant, and he's actually kind of a, he's kind of a handsome guy. Now, Alex Jones does not look like a Libra rising. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. But if Bill Hicks were alive, he might be having some legal issues. I'm just saying. Because Saturn would be all on his Sun, Mercury, Mars. We're trying to get to the truth. Trying to use that Saturnian vice grip from the center of the galaxy to crack the truth wide open. Wiretapping, Pizzagate, Pedogate, the CIA, surveillance, the Russians. It's all in there. Crank it. You know what it really feels like? I'm going to get a little graphic here. It really feels like a stuck bowel movement. This Saturn in Sagittarius, and trying to get the truth out. We need some laxative. We need some truth laxative. Some truth softener, right? We have the stool softener. We need some truth softener. What's that going to look like? The truth softener. You know what we really need? We need somebody to get drunk in the public sphere and just start babbling. Just start talking shit. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? That'd be so awesome. And they can say, oh, he was drunk. He was drunk. He didn't mean anything. Well, maybe he did. Let's just program that into the matrix. Uranus 23. Aries moving forward. Remember, it gets to 28. Neptune 12. Pisces slowly moving along. Slowly. Pluto 19, Capricorn. And that's 1914. Not quite in the third decan yet. Or are we close? We're real close. It's in second decan, third decan, goes into Virgo, the health system, the healthcare system. Hello. We've got to come up and there, don't we? Jesus, that was a mess. That was a train wreck. True node at 3 Virgo, still hanging out there in 3. Last degrees. Clean it up. It's given us a lot of time to get our bodies back. Change your diet. And then Chiron at 25. All right, so we're gonna check out some charts now. I'm gonna put some visuals up here. All right, let's have some fun tonight. You having fun out there? I hope you're having fun. I hope I make this enjoy. I know I get into some kind of weird topics every now and then. It makes you feel uncomfortable just a little bit. All right, let's do this. Man, that maca gives me heartburn. I love the maca; it's good for you, but it just gives me heartburn. Okay, here we go. This is the first chart we're going to do tonight. You're going to get a kick out of this one. Come on now. Excuse me. That's the maca. I'm a maca man. Okay, alrighty, here we go. We're going to go to the desktop. And this is the first chart we're going to do tonight. I'm not going to give you the chart. I'm going to give you the person. First, I'm going to let you, I've got pictures tonight. I've got visual guides. Okay? Check this out. So this is our first person tonight. Okay, yeah, okay. Do you know who this is? It was her birthday recently. This is Marina Abramovic. You know what I can do? I can just put her right here in the center, and I can expand it right there. This woman, and this is a fairly recent picture. I believe she's 74 years old. Let me just clarify that. I just want to clarify it. I believe she's 74 years old. Let me just check this. Now, let's see. So she was born in so she's 71. Okay, I'm off 3 years. This is a 71-year-old woman. She looks like she could probably pass for about late 40s. Now, Marina Abramovic, she has been a performance artist who's been very popular in Europe, in New York. she really pushes the envelope. And she became popular for her dinners called spirit cooking, where it appears that people are munching on organs and blood and all kinds of tasty forms of long pork. And I talked about this about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. We have the Santa Clarita Diet, which happens to be a show about Drew Barrymore, who's your typical Southern Californian real estate mom who's a zombie and needs live flesh to stay alive. So we covered this whole thing about normalizing cannibalism, which is part of the agenda. It's part of the zombie agenda. Now, is she a cannibal? I mean, she could be very accountable. Let's put it this way. The imagery is very bizarre. Now, maybe this is what happens when you eat human organs. Maybe this is the end result. You just get to look this young. Or maybe, perhaps, there is an astrological reason as to why Marina Abramovic looks so young. Well, let's explore that. I'm going to say, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just make her smaller. Because I can do that. I can make her smaller. I can definitely make her smaller. And I'm going to bring her a chart now. Put her right there. And let's add another chart, or let's add her charts. So we have our image. And we're going to put the image, which is her chart. What do we have? So we have Abramovic chart. Let me just make sure here what I have. Abramovic PNG. Here we go. All right, here's her chart. This is her chart. I want to thank Jill from Facebook for bringing this up and asking me to kind of get into her chart a bit here. Okay, so what can we see here? Well, she is a Cancer rising. Can we see some oval pictures of her face? Now, I have seen other pictures of her where the face does look a bit more oval. Let me just see if I can find her. Marina Abramovic. Let me see what we got here. Seductive, fearless, and outrageous. Yeah, okay, so I'll show you another picture here with the upside down cross or the iron cross. Let me see. Which is much more kind of Cancerian rising. Let me just grab this. Do this one here. And so this is the artist cropped. Let me just add this image. Since we're playing around. Marina, the artist cropped. Let's put this in. We're going to browse. And this should be pretty simple here. So here we go. So here we can see another image of her. And the face is definitely more oval. Okay? More oval. Less oblong, more oval. Now the hairstyle, of course, actually helps it. But this would in some ways be very much akin to a Cancer rising. However, her first house is mostly Leo, right? It's mostly Leo right over here. So we have 24 degrees, but then we have from 24 all the way down to, what is that, about 25. let's see what we have here. So 24, here's our first house. And right there, 13, Leo. Oh, she's a Leo ascendant, my bad. And she's Leo, no, it's Cancer. What am I talking? I knew it was Cancer, sorry. So we have the, yeah, so here's the oval face, but hair plays a huge role in Leo rising, right? So we have the oval face of the Cancerian ascendant, 24 degrees. Let's get rid of image 8. Let me show you this this thing with her hair, which is fascinating. It's another one of her images. Here we can see the long hair of the Leo rising, right? Here it is. We have the mane, and here's another one with a, another expression of the mane. Let me do this one right here. Let's do this one. MA, embracing fashion. So let me, let's do this. We'll add another image. This woman is a chameleon, by the way. She's a shapeshifter. So check this out. To me, this is really indicative of sort of Leo in the first house. And so here we go. You see this one? Look at this. Look at the hair here. It's enormous. It's a big picture. She did this for a fashion shoot, right? This is Marina Abramovic exploring fashion. So there's the Leo mane from the first house. Okay, I just wanted to give you a sense of the rising sign, but we saw with the other picture, we saw the oval shape of the Cancer rising face. Okay, let's get into the chart more. Now, when we talk about longevity, we talk about Saturn. Where do we see Saturn? Right here in the first house, conjunct what? Pluto. Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the first house. That's the darkness. That picture I just showed you, here, let me just bring it up again. I just want to bring it up again so you can see it, because that one is a really good image to focus in on. Let's bring it back up one more time, because this gives you kind of an understanding here about the Plutonian persona in the first house. This image is dark. This is very scorpionic, right? Red and black, very dramatic red and black, hidden, cloaked. Of course, we have, what is this side? The Eye of Set. Of course, we get the Eye of Set, but this is very scorpionic. And with Pluto in the first house, you would get what? Dramatic, intense presentation of self. Real simple. Okay. Here we have Saturn. Saturn, to me, Saturn represents longevity, especially in the first house. Capricorn rising, Saturn in the first house people tend to look younger as they get older. Now, does a steady diet of entrails, semen, blood help? Quite possibly. I don't, it could be the wonder diet. But the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, Leo here, vitality, Saturn, she gets younger as she gets older. There's the transformational aspect. It's very intense having Saturn and Pluto conjunct in the first house. It's extreme creativity. Extreme creativity. Look at her midheaven. Her midheaven is at 3 Aries. 3 Aries. And so she's born here in Sagittarius, 7 Sagittarius. But what does Aries represent? It represents blood, right? It's red, it's blood. She tends to wear red quite a bit. And that would go along with the Aries midheaven at 3 degrees. So blood, the head, the body, which should be known for, right up here, right? Fearlessness. Down here, what do we have? Sun, Mars and Sagittarius, fifth house, artistic, creative, Sagittarius wanting kind of no boundaries. She's got her true node in Gemini, true node Uranus conjunction. Been seeing a lot of that. We saw that with David Rockefeller. We've seen this with Donald Trump. This is really interesting. In Gemini, again, she's capable of anything. Remember, I said she's a shapeshifter. Squaring up against, or I'm sorry, opposing her south node at 10 Sagittarius, right here. I don't know, that south node in the fifth house of children. Ay, 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 ay. I'm not going to go there. I'm just not going to go there. I guess there'd be a quality of fearlessness here with the Sun and Mars in Sag in the fifth to create without limits. We have Venus. There's Venus in Scorpio, retrograde, Mars. Let's see, Mercury, Scorpio, retrograde. That's in the fourth house, in the home. Jupiter in Scorpio. Man, she's got a lot of very interesting planets in the fourth house, doesn't she? A lot of interesting Scorpio planets in the fourth house. And she has an Aquarian moon, the most voyeuristic moon in all the zodiac, squaring off against these Scorpion planets. Detached. That moon she's very experimental. With Moon, Uranus trine. She's got different kinds of emotions, man. This is not your ain't your typical housewife here, that's for sure. What's she cooking up? Down in the fourth house with all those Scorpionic planets. Neptune is in the let's see, we got fourth. Yeah, that's the fourth right there. Fourth house. She's got Neptune down there as well. Mediumship in the fourth house. Maybe that's what's going on. Very interesting chart. But I would say that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and the trine to the Sun-Saturn trine. That's like having Sun in Capricorn, correct? And then the Pluto trine to Mars. I have to say that this does indicate some form of vitality. It's exactly what it indicates. She does not play by the rules of convention. No way, no how. Mars Sagittarius, opposition to Uranus. Does not play by the rules. Nope. So I just wanted to kind of get a sense here as to how she could be that vital and this young without eating the Santa Clarita diet. I do think some of the answers are here, actually, in the chart. Okay? Some of them are. And perhaps there's some other answers there, too. All right, let's get rid of her chart. And we're going to say yes, see you later to that. And we're going to say see you later there. We're going to get you out of here, Marina. Thank you for coming and being a part of the show. So who's next on tonight's show? Who are we looking at next? All right, let's look at these guys, because I'm going to do them together. You're going to recognize them. And there's a reason why I'm doing them together, and you'll see. You'll see. This is interesting stuff. That's where I love astrology. Here we go. Recognize these two? Oh, yeah. Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. Leonard Nimoy and Will I Am Shatner. Now, why do you think I've got these two guys up here tonight? There's a reason why. Because they are very much connected astrologically. I remember seeing this years ago when I discovered their birth charts. And I'll show you how connected they are, because I can open up both their charts simultaneously. Remember, he's the first man, and he's the captain. And let's face it, Spock is the wingman. He's the first mate. William Shatner is action. He takes control. Captain Kirk takes control. And Spock is cool as the other side of the pillow, except for every 7 years when he has to mate. In which case he impersonates me at the age of 16. And he goes nuts. All right, so we brought them onto the show. We brought them onto the deck, the Astro deck. Here they are. Let's bring up their charts. How about that? Okay. We'll look at them both. And I'll show you how connected they are. Let's see what we have here. All right. Let's see what we have. Whoops. Yeah. Let me do this. Yeah. Hold on, cancel. There we go. We have, that's one chart. That's Leonard Nimoy's charts. So let me bring up William Shatner's chart. Shatner. Bring up his chart. We can look at his chart. Excuse me. Okay, here it is, right here. Bada bing. There they are. So we have William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. So guess what? They're both Aries, and they're born just 4 days apart. So we have Sun conjunction. We have Mercury-Uranus true node, Mercury-Uranus true node. Nimoy born in 31, William Shatner born in 1931. 4 days apart, they essentially beam down right around the same time. How about that? So these guys were really linked together in a pretty interesting kind of way, astrologically. Of course, Shatner plays the Aries role of Captain Kirk to a T. I mean, he is the personification of Aries. True node, Uranus, the future. He makes quick decisions. That's William Shatner. And he's still kicking. He's still doing commercials for Priceline. Spock has beamed up. But it's interesting because Shatner was born 4 days ahead, right? 22nd. So he's actually he got here first. He's kind of ranking. He's kind of ranking on Nimoy because he got here first. Now, Nimoy has a Cancer moon, and Shatner has a Taurus moon. So their moons, their moons are actually very close to each other in sextile. So even from an emotional perspective, they got on pretty well. What's interesting about both of them is they're also both Jewish. And I'm not making a commentary here about them being Jewish, but I'm just noting the fact that they both happen to be Jewish, and they both happen to be Aries, and they both happen to have Mercury in Aries, and True Node in Aries, and Uranus in Aries, and really just born 4 days apart. Now, what's interesting to me about the difference between the two charts is everything else can be pretty much the same, except for those moons, right? Mars is going to be, let's see, Cancer, Mars, Cancer. For Spock, Mars is anoretic. It wants to go into Leo so bad, but it's still in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, Pluto in Cancer. All these Cancerian planets, very much connected to the US of A. But what's interesting about their charts as well, both the Venus and Aquarius, real slow Venus. Huh? Their Venus has been retrograde. Yep. It's in Spock's chart or Nimoy's chart, and it has to do with Virgo. Because I've always felt that Virgo was Vulcan, the planet Vulcan, was the home planet of Virgo. When I was a kid, I had this idea that there was another Earth that was in an exact opposite orbit as our Earth. So we never got to see it, right? We never get to see it, but it's always rotating. So as we're rotating, again, heliocentric model, it's rotating. And I thought, well, that planet's Vulcan. That's Vulcan. And that's the ruler of Virgo. We take it off from Mercury. It's over there on the secret side of the sun. This is what the kid thought. And the ruler of Taurus, of course, is Earth. But of course, that doesn't work in the heliocentric model either, so we got to stick it out there. But what's interesting about Spock's chart, or Nimoy's chart, if you look at it, where's Neptune? It's in Virgo. And what does it do? It has this interesting inconjunct to the sun. An inconjunct Neptune in Virgo to the sun in Aries. So there's a weird relationship between the sun and Neptune. And what sign? Virgo. And so here we have Spock and Kirk born 4 days apart. Does Kirk have the inconjunct to the Neptunian sun? No, he doesn't. It's Spock that has the inconjunct to the Neptunian Virgoan sun. So what was he known for? He was known for Spock. 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 Captain. And it's Neptune and Virgo, which is acting and creativity and all that stuff. Look where Neptune is, 10th house. Hello. You can see Spock getting played out. He's not known for the Aries sun. No, that's Shatner. Shatner's the Aries sun. Shatner's Captain Kirk. And look at where Spock's planets are, Nimoy's planets are. They're in the 6th house. Virgo's house, right? Uranus, True Node, Mercury, Virgo's house, 6th house. Now Shatner's got a few planets over there too, but not his Aries planets. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I think it's an couple of interesting charts. Are they dramatic? Are they groundbreaking? No, but I think from an astrological perspective, to see how closely linked they were in terms of date and time, but this fascinating inconjunct with the Sun and Neptune is kind of where it's at for me in the charts. Spock, Leo rising. Leo in the midheaven. He had that Scorpio rising. He felt like a Scorpio rising, didn't he? Spock. Especially when he did that mind meld. That was so Scorpio rising to do that mind meld thing. I dug Spock. I thought he was cool. Leo in the midheaven. And Shatner, Sag in the midheaven. Aquarius rising for Shatner. Of course. Venus in Aquarius in the 1st house. Okay, let's play this out. This is kind of interesting. Well, what did Kirk always do? He always had these hot affairs with these alien women. My favorite one was this kind of green-skinned belly dancer. Boy, was she hot. She was smoking, man. The green-skinned belly dancer. And then there was this one who had these powerful tears. And that if she cried, and she was almost like this Egyptian. She was almost like Cleopatra. And I think Captain Kirk wiped her tear, and he got, love struck. And all he wanted was her and her and her. It's an interesting commentary on women. But so he's got this Venus and Aquarius in the first house, which is kind of like, hey, I want to seek out new worlds where no man has gone before, and new women where no Earthman has gone before. And here's the inconjunct to a planet, Pluto. Hello. He had to work that out in the show, man. But he also had, a strange event happen, and I don't have the time to go too deeply into it. But this was about 8 or 9 years ago. His wife died, like at the bottom of his pool. Very weird. One of those weird Hollywood deaths with the Venus-Pluto in conjunct. Yeah, there's that Venus sextile to Uranus. Does Spock have it as well? No, Spock does not have the Venus sextile to Uranus. See, this is all Kirk. These are his alien love affairs. Okay. Let's take these guys off the holodeck. Boom. And let's see what we got here. We got a boom here. Come on, and boom. Yes, see you later. And fellas, it's been great hanging out with you. Live long and prosper. All right, let's get one more here. Let's bring one more up before we shut it down tonight. Here we go. You guys are going to love this one. We all know who that is. Let me just blow that up for you. Let me blow that up. Take a good look into that face. Nancy Pelosi. That's Nancy Pelosi's birthday. Ugh. All right, we're going to look at her chart. We're going to see what the heck is going on with this woman. We're going to get down with Nancy. All right. Here we go. Bada bing. No, that's not it. Cancel. One more. Hold on. Hang in there with me. You can do my bada bing again. Come on, y'all. Here we go. This is what we want. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. There we go. Whole chart. There we go. Let's bring it over here. So the ascendant is Sagittarius. She's got Saturn transiting her. Saturn's right here. Where's Saturn? It's right here. So they're using equal house systems on this. Here's Saturn right here. Okay. So Sagittarius rising. And here's her sun in Aries. Right there. Aries 5. She has Jupiter in Aries. Saturn in Aries. This one's got a lot of Aries going on. Fourth house, who do you think runs that household? I can tell you right now, it's not Paul Pelosi. Not with Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn in the fourth house. She has Mercury in Pisces retrograde, and that's in the third house. Yeah, so yeah, that's her first house. Second, okay. So here's her second house. From this arrow, they're not using equal house. From here to here. So Saturn is like right there in her first house. It's right at 27. But she's got her Black Moon Lilith in Pisces. And her Mercury Pisces retrograde 17. And what's been happening is a couple of things. Number one, Neptune is in a wide opposition with her Mercury. Now, she has been kind of chastised and made fun of how she can't remember certain things. It's not going to get better for Nancy Pelosi as Neptune moves forward here and gets, so Neptune's at 12, so there's a Neptune-Mercury conjunction, which can get really, really foggy. Now, transiting Chiron is in opposition right here. Transiting Chiron is in opposition, and transiting Chiron goes, I think it goes back to what, 21. So she's going to have a Chiron-Neptune opposition, and it gets within hailing distance of her natal Mercury. And this is where I think things, later on this year get a little bit foggy and a little bit fuzzy. And I'll tell you when that's going to happen. So we want to see Chiron get back there around what, 21. Let's see what we got. So it goes retrograde to 24. So it goes to 24. Okay. So what's it going to do at 24? It's going to be in exact opposition with her natal Neptune. At 24, it's going to be conjunct her Black Moon Lilith. So it's all right here on this, kind of on this axis. It does not go back into conjunction with her Mercury, but Neptune's around it, and it's not going to get any better for Nancy Pelosi. Not with Neptune. In fact, Neptune goes retrograde. Neptune gets up pretty high this year. It's like Neptune gets some momentum, 14 degrees in June, so she's going to have Neptune-Mercury conjunction. Her thinking is not going to get a heck of a lot better. I'll tell you that right now. I'm just going to go on the record. You may actually see Nancy Pelosi get into things like early onset Alzheimer's, maybe some dementia. I could easily see this happening to her, especially over the course of the next couple of years. She's going to step down, I think, at some point, because she's going to realize that she just does not have the mental faculties. And I think it's this Neptune-Mercury conjunction and the Chiron opposition to Neptune. She's a little bit foggy anyway, with Neptune very close to the midheaven. And the Neptune-Mercury opposition in her chart doesn't help. Neither does Mercury retrograde. Remember, she didn't read Obamacare? She didn't read it. Though, we're just going to sign it. This is so Mercury-Neptune opposition, that whole idea. But she runs that household. Look at that. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn. Down there in the fourth house. We got Mars-Venus conjunction. 7 degrees, 6 degrees. That's not too bad. It's a pretty... But she's got Venus-Uranus conjunction. Exact. That is weird. That is really weird. Could that be feminism? I don't, it's a very unusual, unusual relationships, unusual partnerships. She'd have an unusual relationship with her daughter, who's, it's the fifth house. Interesting. What do I make of this? Sextile Pluto, trine. That's that Neptune trine. Um, You know, when I see an aspect like this, especially when we're talking fixed sign Taurus, I mean, I really feel like when you get into fixed sign, and you know, Venus and Taurus is nice. Venus Uranus conjunction is strange in the fifth house. It's very strange. It's like unusual romances, but it's not just unusual kind of passion romance, but it's also very fixed. It's a strange combination. But the trine to Neptune actually has some. Okay, let me see if I can put this together. When Nancy Pelosi recently was hearing testimony about people who had had some traumatic event with illegal immigration, and I'm thinking specifically about the woman whose son was beaten up and burned and everything. What did she do? She went into this Venus-Uranus conjunction, which is very detached in a lot of ways. And she tried to muster some empathy, which I think in her mind she was capable of doing, right? Like, because Venus-Uranus is if we're talking about, again, you know, the dialogue has been about these Uranian connections and the New World Order and the Aquarian Age, and she may feel very intense about her relationship, Venus, with very progressive ideals. And trying to Neptune allows her to, in her mind, be emotional. But Venus-Uranus conjunctions can be like wildly detached, especially at 19 degrees. Very detached. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that she believes her own press. And she may think that she's being both idealistic and holding on to the ideals and the template of the party. But to the outside, the Venus-Uranus conjunction might seem odd and unusual. Like, I thought her response to that woman was unusual and cold in a lot of ways. Maybe that's the Venus-Mars conjunction. Taurus, stubborn. I'm going to hold on to my belief system. I'm going to hold on to, my Venus-Uranus conjunction, my progressive, because Uranus energy is connected, I think, to progressive energy in a lot of ways. You go back to the Russian Revolution, 1917, when Uranus was in Aquarius, and so that's kind of the template for everything. So she was being kind of true to her ideals with this Venus-Uranus conjunction. In Taurus, it's like, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, just keep pushing. Just keep moving ahead, moving ahead, moving ahead. That's the Venus-Mars conjunction in Taurus. It doesn't matter whether or not this woman suffered greatly because of the life of her son and what happened to her son. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But I think, again, in Nancy Pelosi's mind, this is how she worked it out in her heart and her mind. There's kind of an ideological sort of flavor here with Uranus, Venus, and Mars all sort of hanging out there and all conjunct together. And again, with the trine to Neptune, I think she feels like that's the highest and the best that she can do for her ideals. I guess I'm being a little compassionate because I thought the whole thing was weird. Very weird. She's got this Saturn Moon opposition. She's out of touch with her emotions sometimes. Her emotions are on display. 11th house with the media. That Scorpio Moon, again, it's fixed. Well, I'm sorry. This is the way it's going to go with Saturn, man. It's out of touch. It's out of touch in 0 Taurus. Zero Taurus, Saturn wants to ground. This wants to be real. Moon in the 11th house is Scorpio. It's going to do what it's going to do. So she's got some interesting fixed energy. Not necessarily great. What's also trippy about this chart is it's showing us one square, Saturn-Pluto square. Saturn-Pluto square. Power. She's got Pluto at 0 Leo, Saturn at 0 Taurus. I'll tell you the day of reckoning for Nancy Pelosi. It's when Uranus goes into Taurus, and she has a Uranus-Saturn conjunction, squaring Pluto. She is going to retire. She's going to step down, and some of that is going to have to do, I think, with dementia, onset of dementia. Remember when she was like, it was the Trump's first speech to Congress. She had that weird thing going on with her mouth. Wow, that was bizarre. Totally bizarre. So Uranus continues its run through Aries up until May of next year. Set your clocks on that. That's when the money changes. You know, when we get to 27, 28 degrees of a sign, and that's kind of where Uranus is now, we get the wobble. We get the wobble. So, starting with late March of 2018 through April of 2018, I think that's seismic in terms of the economy. And when we hit 0 degrees Taurus, she's out the door. She's out the door. She's ready to hit some island somewhere, because there may be a bunch of really pissed off people looking for her. Right here. See that? See that square? It's the only square she has in her chart. It's right here. And when we don't have a lot of squares, they get exacerbated. So there you go. There's Nancy Pelosi's wonderful chart. I'm going to thank her for her service. There we go. Now it's just me. Just me right there. Hey, if you like this, I have an astrological course. It's close to 18 hours of study. 18 hours. There's lectures, there's labs, there's all kinds of stuff. By the way, you go back into that, I predicted Brad and Angelina's divorce. I know it's not rocket science, but I did it before it happened. I just have to, it's one of these things you just have to say, called it. If you like what you're hearing, you can go to my website and grab my course. And we've got 7 sessions left with the 11th House Academy. You can join us once a month for a couple of hours. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow with the 15 minutes of flame, and hopefully my mic situation will be a bit better by that time. So let me just jump in here, see who's in the chat. We got people. Let me see if we have people in the chat. Hey, there's Judy. Hi, Judy. There's Daniel. And we got Marianne, the lovely Marianne. Yeah, she did have kids, by the way, Marianne. Let's see who else. We have Daniel. Identity nonsense, yep. Okay, we have Marianne there. Yeah. Okay, who else do we have here? Cecilia. Hi, Cecilia. Nice to see you. And Babcha means love. Hello, banality of evil. Nice to see you too. It's great. Hey, media monarchy. What's happening? What's happening? Chat room is going on tonight. I like it. A lot of dialogue. A lot of snappy dialogue. All right. Here we go. Hi, James. I'm a new subscriber. I like what you do. Okay, we got people thanking each other. Hi, Lois. We got Lois Lane. Lois Lane hanging out. Lois Lane in the house. Well, let's keep this thing rolling. I'll be back here again. I think 9 o'clock is the time. 8 o'clock's a little too early. I'm still kind of finishing up. 10 o'clock is too late. Let's make it 9 o'clock. And I'll be back tomorrow over on Spreaker for 15 minutes of flame. And I think this will go live, so you can listen to it after. It's already live. It'll be archived. Thanks for showing up, everybody. And you know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real. Your heart to say open what's possible. Hey, 45 people watching. That's pretty darn good. Pretty good. Maybe we'll get up to 50 next week. Woohoo! I like it. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream now. Everybody have a wonderful sleep, wonderful dreams. Surrender, let go. See you later. Sayonara. Au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir.